In this video, I will quickly show you how to fork my template for your first assignment and how to link it to your desktop so that you can modify all the files, modify the website, and then re-upload it to GitHub using GitHub Desktop. So the first step for you is to go to my GitHub profile, so github.com/jsmarier. Then you will click on the repository called HTML CSS Workshop. In the right corner here, you will see fork. Obviously, I am the owner of this repository, so I cannot fork it, but in your case, it should work. So you will click on there, and you see that 28 students have done it so far. So you'll click on fork, and then it will bring you to your own repository. So it should say something like github.com, your username, and then HTML CSS Workshop, JOU 4100, JOU 4500. Once that's done, you will actually copy the URL here. So I'll copy it, and you will launch GitHub Desktop. We are now in the desktop version. You should make sure to log into your account by clicking on File Options. Make sure that you are connected. I am connected to my regular account, not to the enterprise server, so that's fine. And then you will click on File, Clone Repository. And then you will come to the URL option, because you could go to github.com and find your own repositories, or you could clone it. In this case, you can either use the URL like I just did. That's kind of easier so that you don't get confused, but if it's clearly labeled and you don't have too many repositories, that works too. So either or, I could click on here. Let's go with the URL. It's kind of the fail-safe option. Then I will put it on my desktop, so that's fine. It will create a new folder. So local path will be users, Marier, desktop, and then a folder. So I'll clone it. Now it's cloning it. Once that's done, you have to be very careful because now the files on your desktop are linked to those on your actual GitHub profile. So in the online repository. So whenever you make changes to the files on your computer, those changes could be replicated on GitHub. But you will see that there is a two-step process, so it's kind of hard to make a mistake. What I do recommend is that once you've synchronized the files, you do not touch GitHub Desktop until you are really ready to upload the new version of your website, or at the very least, make sure that you do a backup copy on the USB key or a separate folder, just in case you do anything that could erase your project. So we'll close that, minimize it, minimize this window. And now you see that we have a folder here, right? Called HTML CSS Workshop, JOU 4100, JOU 4500, and those template files. I'll show you though how I can affect a change here, which will get replicated on GitHub. So I'll click on README. I will actually clone the file. Copy, paste. It's called copy. Let's call it test. And the README file is not necessary. It's a GitHub file format in this case, so you don't need to worry about it, but I will use it as a test subject. So I'll come back here to GitHub Desktop. And now automatically GitHub Desktop knows that I have made a change. And the changes that I created, test.md. So we'll commit to master. Now my local changes are registered, and I have one local commit waiting to be pushed to GitHub. So even if by mistake you click here, you're like, oh no, you can do undo. Now you know that, let's say I'm done. My website has been modified, customized, I'm ready to submit it. I will push to origin. It's pushing. There we go. Now let's go back to GitHub. And then if I refresh my window, there we go. My new file should be right at the bottom here. Test.md was created 36 seconds ago. And the same thing would go if I were to add images into the images folder, if I were to customize my index.html page, and so on. So try it out. And if you run into a technical issue, do not panic. That's the worst thing to do. Just email me, save your project, and don't touch it, and we should be able to retrieve it. But again, be very careful. Wait until you are sure that you want to affect those changes. And once you're done with your assignment, that you have committed your changes to your online repository, don't forget to go into settings and to follow the process to publish your website using GitHub Pages. And then you will need to submit both the URL to your repository and the URL to your website.